Hello and welcome to Warframe. My name's Todd, also known as Mage Mech, and this is of course Warframe. Last time we left off completing what we needed to for the Fortuna quests, and we came back to our orbiter, and I forgot to show something off when I finished off the recording last time. So when you finish the Fortuna quest line, of course it is the weekend again, so Barrow has come back, but we can't meet him because he's on a Saturn currently. So when you complete the Fortuna quest line and you come back to your orbiter, Utico has sent you a nice little treat here. You can see that it's the Garuda blueprint, of course the new Garuda Warframe that was just released with Fortuna. So you can get her parts from Bounties, and then you can craft her and build her with that blueprint. Note that that is the only way to get the blueprint, I believe, unless we can buy a second one. Cannot. So you can't buy another blueprint. Shut up, Lotus. God, Jesus, so demanding. So effectively, you can't buy another blueprint. So the only way you can craft Garuda is with that one blueprint. So if you do decide to craft her, make sure you don't get rid of her. So yeah, so we're gonna spend this episode, we're gonna go and do some bounties in Fortuna so we can get some reputation, so we can start doing, so we can at least show off the mining, fishing, and the conservation if we're able to. Now, the one thing I did want to talk about real quick before we get into that, just real as fast as I'm able to, so I did want to take a look at our primary weapons and whatnot, again, just giving some more recommendations. So I was playing around with a lot with the weapons on my other accounts just to see what ones I really preferred, and out of what we've got currently, the Vectis and the Heck are really great. Most of the other ones we have here aren't fantastic, at least not in my eyes. Later on, we'll be able to get some better ones. I think the next great one that we're probably able to get is much later on. Yeah, I mean, the Rubico is pretty alright. I think I've made that comment before, though. I've been taking to explosive weapons, things that make lots of booms, so things like the Corinth. They're fantastic. What else? The lens is also fantastic. The lens you can only get if you're in a clan, though. But there are some weapons that we can get currently that I would really recommend, at least trying out once or twice. The big one is the Sonocore. Another good one would probably be the AK Lex, and that would be about it for secondaries. So we'll actually purchase the Sonocore blueprint right now. We can't craft it. We need a lot more plastids, a lot more oxium, and some argon crystals. But if we can get our hands on those resources, we'll definitely craft the Sonocore. The Sonocore is great to have around. It used to be better in the past, I think. I think they did nerf the damage of it a little bit, but it's still a fantastic weapon. Let's see what else. So we also want to take a look at melee weapons. I don't know if I've talked about it before, but a great melee weapon to get your hands on early in the game is the Typedo. The Guandao is also a good weapon to get your hands on. The Typedo will later on be crafted into the Legion, and the Legion is a amazing polearm for endgames content. It's just great all around. Let's see. So if we wanted to create the Legion, we'd have to create the Typedo first, as it's one of the components. You can see the stats are pretty good, and we'll go over to Legion just to show that off real quick. There you go, so you see you need a Typedo for it. The Typedo, just by itself, though, is a fantastic weapon to get early on. The Guandao is also a fantastic weapon to get early on, just because of its reach. I'm trying to think if there's any other major weapons. The Orthos. The Orthos is a fantastic weapon, which we could actually craft right now. You know what? I wasn't planning on it, but we'll buy the Orthos for the moment, because we'll try that as soon as our Galantine's done. That'll give us something to create. But yeah, those are pretty much the weapons I'd recommend at this current stage that we're at. Now let's just head into a bounty. We could create the Orthos, but again, no real reason to at this exact moment. So we'll jump straight into the Valis. First of all, we'll go solo. I'd highly recommend, if you're a new player and you're planning on doing bounties in the Orvalis, that you do not do them with a group, just because you will not be able to keep up with people at this current time. You don't have an Arcwing launcher segment, which I've talked about in the past. You do have a K drive, and that means that you could potentially get around pretty quick, but nowhere as quick as people with Arcwing launchers currently. Don't know if they plan on changing that or if they plan on like focusing more on the K drives. Who knows? K drives are pretty cool though. Let's take a look. So we have a good amount of time to do some bounties. I think if we could knock out maybe 1 or 2 of the starter bounties, we might be in good graces at the moment. That'll probably give us about 2,000 reputation, I believe. So the nice part, of course, of the Orb Valis is you no longer have to go into Fortuna to select bounties or to get bounties. You can actually select them from any of these blue markers here. They're just like Solaris United agents, which you can access bounties from.
I'll patch you through.
So you can do bounties more and more as you go through it with this. So you can do a ton of different bounties at once and then not have to worry about zoning in and zoning out. Less doors. A lot of people talk about doors in video games because of loading screens, and yeah, less of that. So we'll just start this, and I'll talk more about it as we go along. So the bounties for the Orb Valis are pretty awesome. Let's get out our K drive.
With a high number of Solaris up for refill and grain shelving. We're gonna erase their debt ledgers and give them a second chance. Debt ledgers are stored on encrypted databanks. We need to find that debt processing center. Wait, one of our picket teams got themselves surrounded. Call this patrol. Bring them home.
So, with kind of like lead-in statements, you can tell what the bounty is going to be. You can tell Utica was talking about the individuals. Like a team of people. That means that we're going to be searching for some bodies when we get to that zone there. I did talk about the K drive and its controls previously. I'm not really going to talk about them here just because I don't really feel it's massively important. When you're writing it, you can get a pretty good handle on how it works. I will be talking about some things that I would like to see in the future in these bounties.
This isn't the whole team. Where are the others? Search the bodies. See if there's any clues.
So one of the major problems with the K drive and our good buddy Rhino, for instance, is his iron skin falls off every time a K drive is activated. So activating iron skin and then using a K drive, almost pointless. Because you've just wasted your iron skin, it falls off immediately. It should be noted that with these operatives in this zone here, once you find them, they will be marked with like a little yellow waypoint. I thought we would have found some already. Let's activate our K drive so you can see the iron skin fall off. But I can also hopefully find these agents quicker. Where are these guys? Usually I'd have found 1 or 2 by now. There's one. Usually they're all around the same general area.
There's something in the buffer.
So there's probably one over in these rocks here. Yeah, there you go.
Accessing buffer.
So a couple problems with these bounties is they're very repetitive. These enemies, of course, make them more problematic as you go through, especially if you've got the reinforcement beacons going up. There's some bugs here and there. I'm not going to fault Digital Extremes for that, though. I'm sure they're working to fix them. The major problems I think I have with the bounties is the repetitive nature of them, and the factor that the areas can sometimes be very far apart. So you're overall less efficient by doing bounties than you are by just doing normal missions. Generally very annoying, especially because these enemies tend to be a little bit tougher than you'd find in normal missions as well, so you're just dealing with a lot of problems overall. For new players, it's very unwelcoming of an environment. Definitely would like to see, you know, maybe like an introduction to the fact that other players will be quicker than you, things like that. Maybe a recommendation just to new players to not do bounties with a group unless they're ready for that, or perhaps some more like intelligence on that and how that works. Any new players that came in just with the Fortuna update, for instance, probably had a lot of hard time thanks to the fact that a lot of the players were already introduced to things like bounties with the Plains of Eidolon, but new players have no previous experience with that. So this whole system is kind of strange compared to every other part of the game. Bounties are just definitely a weird thing in general. I don't know. I'm not really sure why I can quantify that, or how I can like state that they're boring compared to the rest of the game. Maybe it's the feeling that you're not really expediting a lot of these. A lot of these are like wait for progress bar or wait for time limit. I feel like there needs to be a little bit more of an element of speed, but there really isn't in a lot of these bounties. It's just stand around objective X, Y, or Z. Maybe that's what it really kind of comes down to. For instance, things like Exterminate and other game modes in Warframe have you running through levels, and that kind of evens it out compared to defense missions, for instance, where you are just kind of standing around. So I really wouldn't be able to quantify, again, how it's boring for everybody, but for me it definitely feels like bounties are more repetitive than other parts of the gameplay, which is honestly really strange in its own right, given that most of Warframe is a lot of repetition of using your weapons to move forward. It's probably a lot of just my own biases. This doesn't feel right in general. So when it comes to that major like plot point, I don't really know how you'd improve that exactly.
And I know just what to do with it.
Maybe changing the way some of these little objectives work.
This couldn't be simpler. If it's Corpus, kill it.
Oh.
And do it quick. You've got places.
So this is the elimination, for instance, for the bounty. This is one that they just added in the Fortuna update, which is very similar to elimination. Though of course you don't have tight corridors anymore. So you're not running through the corridors to find enemies. You're standing in one spot again. If anything, now these reinforcement beacons help you though, because they bring more enemies to you. But still, the problem with the elimination in these sort of missions is they endorse you to just run to a Corpus base and sit there killing enemies. Far less mobile, I suppose you could say. I don't know, maybe I'm just like not as invested in these bounties as some other people. I don't think that they're bad in general. They're definitely Warframe gameplay. I feel that there's just a lot more they can do creative-wise with them that, I don't know. Perhaps with this sort of thing you could have like a combo multiplier, or you could make it a little bit more interesting overall by just having maybe like a bounty system on top of you, where enemies, regardless of where you are, come to you. So you can kind of be more pressured about this. If I wasn't already in a base and this elimination mission had started, I would pretty much just recommend going to a base and starting to attack enemies. But that just feels clunky. That's what I'm trying to get to. Like even this sort of elimination style fight here just feels very railroaded kind of into a single zone. Maybe that's my own like bias, but it feels like that's the most efficient way to go about it. So I'm giving a lot of conjecture on why these bounties just really aren't my favorite thing, but that's about it. When it comes to the other sides of things, there are some other parts of Fortuna that I definitely think could use some upgrades. For instance, we're in a base right now, and there was a whole base system that they had planned on originally installing, so you could capture a base, for instance, and you'd be able to accept bounties from said base the same way you would with the Solaris United agent in front of Fortuna. And that system is still in the game. They did actually implement it, so you can capture bases, but they're very specific in what they determine as a base.
I wish you could hear this. You hit him so fast, they're blaming each other. And one of them let juicy little tidbits slip.
what they define as a base is any area that has one of these panels here.
The final account processing for all no-hopers facing full-body repossession. Find every last file, and I'll make sure their debts are wiped clean.
And this panel here, if you kill enough enemies, will eventually allow you to gather a data mass, which is just a pick-upable item, which you can then load into that area there, and then you like kill waves of enemies as you're defending the base. After that's done, the base will be temporarily claimed, and you can access a Solaris United agent right there. I just feel it's kind of a waste of time because I could just go back to Fortuna in almost about the same amount of time, thanks to my K drive, that it would take to defend that base and capture it. And every time you load out of Fortuna, the base gets reclaimed by the Corpus. At least that's the way the system was working. I don't know if they've changed it in any way since then. But I think honestly that system is really cool and really kind of like critical to making Fortuna less bland. But there's no real like permanence to it. So it just disappears after you're done, and that's just overall very useless. You'll find yourself, honestly, in my eyes anyway, most players would just go back to Fortuna and then start a bounty from there, which I just find kind of a big waste. If it's faster to just go back to main base rather than trying to capture a base, then it seems like kind of a waste. I think the way they could probably do it instead would be to, if you capture the data mass, you then instantly unlock the base for your use, as long as you don't have any of the alert levels. So the alert levels wouldn't go away, but you'd be able to use the base right away if you didn't have any alert levels. That way they could keep it as a temporary thing and it would still work out. Or they could add some permanence to it and make it that there's like a hidden Solaris agent every time you capture one, and you can access it anytime after you've captured the base. I don't know. That one I'm not really sure on. So we were standing around talking about that. I wasn't really doing anything since I was waiting for my global alert level. Oh, that was a good ragdoll right into the lake. So yeah, if you mess up on your K-Drive, of course, you'll go hurtling off into space as a ragdoll. It's hilarious. But that alert level went down, and now we're able to do this little mission here, which is a spy-like mission. The secure area missions, especially ones in this little base right here, are spy-like missions. So if you don't have a frame that you can stealth with, my greatest suggestion is rush. Go fast. They won't typically be able to knock you down fast enough if you can get through here. So in other words, they won't be able to activate the alarm and delete any data or anything of that nature.
And security measures. The enemy will destroy the data if they detect you.
Doing this panel here is very simplistic. We'll run across here, kind of avoiding detection the best we're able to. I'm sure the guys will spot us regardless though. If we're lucky, we might get away with activating this panel without getting spotted though. Alright, so you activate that panel there. This screen comes up, similarly to a spy mission, you'd activate some panels. If we're detected, the alarm will go off, which we are definitely detected. So we want to get this data and get out of here quick. Because these guys in this room hurt. They can knock you down pretty fast. Wow.
That, ladies and gentlemen, is how you do it.
I wasn't expecting to go through there
and some very relieved families in Fortuna.
Without activating the alarm there. So that was kind of surprising me. Typically, if you run into that room, they'll pretty much see you right away and activate the alarm, but we got lucky. So yeah, that kind of gives a little bit of my views on the bounties for Fortuna, and one of the features that they were going to add to Fortuna that they didn't really flesh out very well. This area here, the enrichment labs, it should be noted that you can farm an item known as torrids here. So if you're looking for torrids, there's one type of them here. Hold on, let me pull up my big map here. There we go. So the enrichment labs, I think it's the spaceport and the Temple of Profit. I think those are the three ones, or is it maybe the Temple of Fabrication? Those are different areas which you can farm items known as torrids. Now, any early game player don't have to really worry about getting those right at this moment. Oh, let's get out of here first. But if you're near the end of the game, you're trying to figure out where to find torrids, that's where you find them. That has to do a little bit with some of the stuff that I hinted at with Little Duck. She trades stuff for torrids. So pretty much the way it goes with this is you'll do a bounty and you'll run back to Fortuna here, and then you'll pick up another bounty and you'll do that one. Now, we spent an okay amount of time on this bounty. How much, oh, that's the map. How much reputation do we have? So we have 1,836 reputation for Solaris United. So let's go see what we can buy real quick. I always do that. I try and put down my map by pressing escape, and that doesn't work. Should work, but it doesn't work. Minor gripes. That's what this entire episode is. Minor gripes about things that I would like to see happen. But that's how it goes. So we will possibly do another bounty. You can just go straight into another bounty from United Agent, as I stated before. I wanted to see just real quick though what we could pick up, because I think we might be able to pick up our fishing stuff and our conservation stuff right away. Biz, how's it going?
You've altered the calculus and the valus to our favor. Thank you. A pity it took young Thursby's tragedy to motivate Utico to take up the mantle of leadership once more. But she is the leader Solaris United needs, and tragedy is the unavoidable cost of progress. I'll make sure Thursby gets up on his new feet. I owe it to him.
Biz has definitely very interesting morals. Alright, so we could get all the stuff we need to go fishing and hunting. I believe we need 2,500 for the mining laser, so we'll grab all we need for fishing and hunting, because we have kind of run a little bit long.
Then subdue it with a well-placed tranquilizer. You get
here,
and we save something rare from Corpus scientists.
We'll also grab a little bit of bait.
Aim true. Keep your face to the wind.
So, I think in between parts, I'll probably do another bounty.
Make it quick.
So we can get the reputation we needed.
Welcome aboard.
Reputation we need, that is, for yes, because we do still have enough for a mining laser from Smokefinger. So we've got all we needed for hunting and fishing, so we'll go show that off real quick. But in between parts, like I said, we'll do that, and then we can get the drill, and I'll show that off real quick next time, and then we'll jump into another quest, because we do still have to do the rest of the story missions, of course, story quests that is, outside of Fortuna, though Fortuna is cool with all the new stuff you can do. I just don't feel at this moment we're 100% suited and ready for all the wonderful things we can do in Fortuna. So we'll show off real quick the fishing and conservation if we're able to. The conservation might take time. I've never done it before. I know a little bit of how it works, not 100% though. So if I fuck it up, you'll have to berate me later. For now, we'll just head on to do fishing, and I'll show that off just real quick. One of my favorite fishing spots for lakes is right here, so we'll pull out. I just realized we did not equip our spear, did we? Dang it. Nor did we equip our tranq rifle. I was too preoccupied with my own voice. That's a real shame. So we can head straight back into Fortuna. Oh man. I would like to cut this out, but I think that jump cutting like a couple seconds for loading would be just kind of a waste. Oh man. Well, there's a return to Fortuna screen for almost nothing. That loading is much quicker than it used to be. Oh, that is the wrong thing. Arsenal. Yeah, that loading was monstrously quick. Maybe they've updated the engine there to allow for it to be a little bit quicker. We need to equip our fishing spear. Equip that. Also equip trank rifle and our Pobber's Echo Lure. Oh, okay. So actually we don't need to equip our Echo Lure. We've got the trank rifle already equipped. We're good to go. Alright, now we'll load back into Fortuna. Yeah, I think the loading here is actually much better. They have done some definite updates, but I wasn't certain what exactly. Looks like the loading is definitely improved. I say as the loading takes an okay amount of time, and you still get a little bit of stutter and slow down, but that's okay. The games aren't absolutely perfect. Yeah, that load-in was much better than it used to be. You can watch a previous video and see. Good old Digital Extremes making it better. Okay, so now we will equip our Shock Prod Spear. So, works pretty much the same way the other type of fishing did. Okay, but we can also see that there's some... that fish in Fortuna, of course, are not fish, but robots. So we'll try and nab one if we can. There's a sap caddy right there. Oh, missed. You can definitely hear them. You can, of course, hear like a bubbling noise when you're near a fish. Let's try and get this guy. There we go. So you activate the spear by just pressing left click again when it's in the little red zone there, and you capture a fish. So if you, of course, capture a fish with the other spears, you'll get damaged fish instead of basic or the other levels of fish that you can get from Fortuna. I think it's like basic, modded, or magnificent or something like that. I don't remember exactly, but it's something like that. It's like basic, modded, and upgraded. I don't remember exactly. We'll capture another one just to see if we can't get one of those. So you can, of course, activate the bait. The bait works the same way as it does in Fortuna. No, still a basic fish. I don't want to spend forever fishing, because if we don't get right onto the conservation, we'll probably never finish it in time. So you pull out your trank rifle. You can see on the map, since they've updated it, or you should be able to see on the map, the different areas where you can do your conservation. Let's see, where's the closest one? The one over near the Pearl is pretty close. So we'll head over in that direction. So head over there. Trank rifle, of course, is a very slow weapon. We'll show it off. It's meant to add a little bit of a challenge to your firing here. So you do have a set number of shots. You can, I think... I don't know what's... Oh, okay. So you can just fire it off normally. The reload time is not great, and the you can only fire one shot per reload time. So it's pretty much just like a bolt-action rifle. And trying to hit fast-moving targets, I'm sure it's going to be a real pain in the butt. But hopefully we can find ourselves a popper and not have to worry about it. I'm glad that the conservation stuff is working right now, because sometimes, as of late, it's tended to glitch out horribly. A lot of people have been reporting that it just doesn't work properly, or they can't see things properly. So hopefully when we make it to this conservation effort over here, we're not going to have any massive problems. It has to be right on top of the zone, doesn't it? Enemies. Okay, we'll switch away from our rifle there for a second. We'll kill all these guys so they're not causing us problems. That is not what I wanted to pull out. I don't even know how I did that. Alright, let's try and activate my iron skin there. I think that might be a minor glitch, but that's okay. We'll just deal with all these guys as quick as can be. And then we'll pull our rifle back out. Come on, guys, get out of here. I don't want to deal with you little 22 crewmen. These guys are about the highest level enemy I think we've seen so far. tower, auto defense towers. You'll see these throughout. They only activate once an enemy activates them. I don't know where you crit them either, or like where you can headshot them. I have no idea where that activates, so we're just gonna slowly plink away at it to deal with it. Much nicer if you have a heavy damaging weapon. Alright, so now we're done with that. Hopefully. Oh, there's some more dudes over there. There's another dude over here. He's trying to activate a beacon right in front of me. Get out of here, guys. I'm trying to save animals, okay? Criminies. I'm never gonna get a floof at this rate. Spending my days killing crewmen. Alright. I think we killed them all. Nope, ship's coming in. Let's just pull out our rifle and try and figure out where this thing is and ignore any crewmen that are coming for us. Pretend they don't exist. Okay, so it's below us. It's in here somewhere. I think. Oh, yep, right here. So you gotta find some poop. And then you track the animal. So we gotta follow the animal tracks. Once we are finished following the tracks, we'll activate our echo lure, which actually we can just probably pull that out right now. So these tracks, I believe there was a problem for people with low settings to be able to see them. So if you do have problems, you might want to try turning up your visual settings. I don't know what setting was turned down low to cause that to happen, but that's just what I heard. So, right on top of the tracks now, dump those enemies. We're gonna keep following them to the end, wherever the end might be. They go up the bloody mountain, go around here, around over here, and down here, and around here. There we go. So now we've reached a call point. Once the call point activates, we activate our echo lure.
That
so
is the
we want to activate.
Harbor. Not the mightiest of beasts, but worthy of salvation nonetheless, despite the odor. Now you must be stealthy. Preyed upon by Sorgors and Vermake, Paupers will flee at the slightest hint of danger.
So as you just heard, they'll flee at the slightest hint of danger. When you've got your echo lure, you just press left click to activate it, just the way I did there. Now you line it up by moving your mouse up and down, as you can kind of see I'm doing there, and you activate the thing and try and track it.
Now, ready your trick.
Okay. Now we gotta see where he's coming from.
A delicate Pauper. A descendant of an Orokin domesticated strain. Less odorous, with a sweeter temperament, but far less hardy. A rare find.
I don't know where this Pauper... Ah, there he is. So we got a Pauper there. We want to make sure not to shoot him until we're absolutely ready we can get to him. So we probably want to back up a little. Wait till he come over, maybe stop for a second. Tranked. Tranked that one too. Now we're good to go. Now they've fallen asleep. We can call for collection.
A delicate Pauper, a rare breed, just marvelous.
And that is how you do conservation.
Oh, they are beautiful. Ah, a delicate Pauper, a descendant of an Orokin domesticated strain, a rare find.
Typically, you wouldn't get a pair of them like that. A lot of the times it'll just be a single Pauper that would come, but we got lucky there. You can see that I also kind of messed up the echo lure as I was doing it, as I'm not totally used to it, but that's how you do conservation, my friends. As you do conservations, you get more tags. As you can see, we've got 2 tags. The more tags you get, the more floofs you can buy. And before you know it, you'll have your own floof collection. I think we're going to head back. Actually, yeah, we'll just head back to Fortuna now, and I think we'll call it an episode. As I said, in between episodes, I'll just collect enough reputation, so next time we just buy a drill, and I'll show off the mining, and then we'll move on with our quests and the star map, as I do some sick tricks over these robots and Corpus. Let me think. Is there anything I think they could really improve on this Fortuna right now? Aside from the fact that the Arcwing launcher segment kind of causes problems for new players, they might decide to maybe streamline the bounties a little bit better, making them less focused on one area. I don't know exactly how they do that, as I stated previously, but those are the two major complaints I've seen, or two major problems I've seen that I think that they can improve on. Aside from that, it's a great update. I love it. There's lots of cool stuff to do, lots of new stuff to experience, so definitely get out and try out some of the cool stuff they added in Fortuna. But until next time, goodbye.